The way I do business now. You know what I mean? And here we are.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Hi, guys. It's really nice to meet you all.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy
We
bien.
have so
Muy
many
bien.
interesting stories tonight that we're going to
Fantastic stories.
Yeah, really.
And amazing guest hosts like the legendary Jessica Lam,
Without a beat.
DJ activist extraordinaire.
That's right. Did you see me on Thou Art Woman earlier this week?
Yes, fantastic. And Lynare Robbins is with us today too.
Yeah. I haven't seen
And President
her in a
Lincoln
while.
is with us as well.
Yes.
right.
And Dr. Nick Metheny.
It's me.
How
Freddie
was the
Mercury's
University
here.
of Miami? Are you out of school?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you doing summer?
No, I'm not, but people are. They just started.
Oh,
I know.
that's fabulous.
Are we starting at set 2?
We're on.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It is 8 p.m. Tuesday, May 25th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. The world's first live daily queer evening news show, out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the Happening Out television network, Hotspots Magazine, and WeMeg Events. Hotspots is celebrating 35 years of the LGBTQ experience, and WeMeg is bringing you Wilton Manor's Stonewall Pride Parade and Street Festival on June 19th. Merged, we bring you the best of LGBTQ news, entertainment, and support of our LGBTQ+ community.
This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and let's welcome anchor Tony Lima. He is the Chief Executive Officer at Ariana's Center Trans Latina Florida, one of the nation's most important trans rights and service organizations in America. He is a longtime South Florida LGBTQ activist and political advocate, as well as the anchor of the world's first new live weekly trans talk show called Translation. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening, Al. I'm happy to be here like I am with you every single Tuesday, and I can't wait for the premiere of Translation, which will be next week. Stay tuned. Let's welcome anchor Lynare Robbins. She is a veteran of the United States Navy with degrees in behavioral science and sociology, human behavior, and international relations and conflict resolution. She serves on the board of directors for the United Nations Association Miami chapter, Care Resource, and the LGBTQ Tourism Committee for the GMCVB. She is also an independent travel consultant, founder and president of Robbins Global Innovations, and the director of the Global Chamber Miami, a thriving community of professionals, mentors, and innovative companies connecting throughout the world of global business that exists in 195 countries with chapters in 525 metropolitan areas. Good evening, Lynare.
Good evening, Tony. Happy to be here. Thank you. Let's welcome anchor Nick Metheny. He is an assistant professor at the University of Miami School of Nursing and Health Studies, and I meant to say Dr. Nick Metheny, as well as a registered nurse holding a PhD from the University of Michigan. His research focuses on preventing domestic violence and its negative health implications in LGBTQ populations globally. Good evening, Nick.
Thanks so much for having me. Let's also welcome anchor Jessica Lam. She's a proud activist, entertainer, educator, philanthropist, and entrepreneur, utilizing her many skills and talents to help make a positive difference in this world for over 2 decades. She's served on board of directors for the Aqua Foundation for Women, SAVE, and Drag It Out, and currently serves as the vice president for the International Transgender Certification Board, a board member of the Trans Collaborative Network, and the owner of Jessica Lam Enterprises Incorporated. Good evening, Jessica.
All right, thanks, Nick. So we're going to have to get you educated on some transgender
Yes,
stuff there.
ma'am.
Okay? And if you need a transgender translator, I'm here for you, okay?
I love that, Jessica.
So anyhow, we're here, the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with our queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points for the queer news for today, Tuesday, May 25th of 2021.
Let's begin by queering up trans rights. Elliot Page reveals his chest and abs on Instagram for the first time since coming out. Elliot Page is radiating summer joy. The Oscar nominee, 34, posted a shot of himself shirtless by a pool on Monday, showing off his red swim trunks and his abs. On the post, he wrote, quote, "Trans BB's first swim trunks," end quote, adding the hashtags of #transjoy and hashtag trans is beautiful. The shot is the first shirtless one Page has posted on Instagram since having top surgery, a procedure he previously revealed before he underwent the surgery earlier this year.
I would drink all 6 of those 6-packs.
Would you?
Listen, I have never seen a trans man who wouldn't go shirtless for you. So, I mean, once they have top surgery, first thing off is that shirt. So
to
get
show
me to
it
the
off?
beach ASAP.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that beautiful, though, when you're finally feeling yourself
Yes,
in your own
and
body?
those scars are beautiful too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And what an important story to share, because representation matters, and we need to see more trans men in the media, people popular like Elliot Page, really telling us their story, every aspect of
No,
their
remember Chaz Bono many years ago on Dancing with the Stars? That was revolutionary for trans men. It
Absolutely.
gave them a face on the screen.
And now we have Gottmik, too.
Yes.
Got
Yeah.
big, right?
So what struck me is how happy he looks, and I'm just
happy.
happy for him.
Yeah. You know what's exciting, the news, and I think you hit it right in terms of a picture can be revolutionary, is this is major news in America today. A guy took his shirt off and it's major news. That indicates that this is major news for the trans community, and therefore it's major news for the LGBTQ community. Congratulations, Elliot Page.
Absolutely. Next, we queer up business. LGBTQ plus businesses can now self-identify on Yelp. Just in time for Pride Month, crowdsourced business review site Yelp has added a new feature for the LGBTQ plus owned businesses to self-identify. The company announced in a blog post, quote, "Restaurant, food, and nightlife businesses that identify as LGBTQ plus owned or open to all will be highlighted on Yelp with rainbow-colored map pins for the entire month of June to help people find places to celebrate Pride Month," end quote. The feature is opt-in only and up to the business owner. You can view LGBTQ plus owned businesses on Yelp mobile app by going to the business page under the More Info section and on Yelp's website in the Amenities and More section.
Yeah, I saw that. I have a business on Yelp, and I saw that I could actually change that. I was a little concerned. Now, for those who might not know, I'm transgender, so I was born with the M designation at birth. And if somebody else were to find that out about me, I might lose business, honestly. So I remember when Caitlyn Jenner first came out.
Who?
Caitlyn Jenner. You have no idea
never heard
who
of
this person is. I know she's not popular these days, but
That crazy candidate for governor.
that's
of
right.
California.
I heard
that
something
statement.
about that.
Right,
So
right.
love her or hate her, she actually made a huge impact for our transgender community when she could come. I say after Caitlyn and before Caitlyn, because before Caitlyn, a lot of people were in the closet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
That was back when the dinosaurs were walking the earth, right?
Yeah, right with you, I think.
Oh, right.
Thank
right,
you, Nick
right,
Metheny.
right.
I was waiting for that.
For me, though, this is interesting because, like, this is great if you live in, I don't know, Omaha or something. But if you open this at Wilton Manors, isn't this just going to be like a unicorn threw up all over your Yelp
Yeah.
screen? Like, it's not going to tell you
Everything is
anything.
rainbow. That's
Listen, it
true.
might be controversial for me to say, but that rainbow flag is overrated for me.
Yeah.
So.
One thing the story mentioned is that they're going to have a storytelling component to this. And so I know that in Ireland, when they were trying to get the yes vote for marriage equality, that was their strategy, to tell stories, and they went door to door and showed pictures. So I think the storytelling part could be powerful, especially in these places that you mentioned where it's
Yeah.
just not going to light up as much as Wilton Manors.
Very true.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know,
double-edged sword.
our community focuses on the bars and the events and many things, and RuPaul and the like, and those are easy things to concentrate. One of the things I love about this story is it equates the and Lynare, you I know would agree with this. It equates the LGBT LGBTQ community to a business environment. And we're business too, just like everyone else in the community. And having organizations like this create imaging and embracing the LGBTQ community is a step in the right direction. 10 years ago, they would have never done this. Chambers recommending LGBTQ businesses were few and far between. This is a gigantic step in the right direction for our community.
Now we queer up entertainment. The Eternals trailer gives a glimpse of Marvel's first gay superhero. The release date of Marvel's The Eternals has been pushed back endlessly. This, of course, in part because of the ongoing pandemic. But now the much anticipated film has dropped a full trailer that we are salivating over. The Eternals are a group of immortal heroes who have existed for centuries and have often been thought to be gods. Brian Tyree Henry, who plays Phastos, will make history as the first out gay superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the film, he will be married to a character played by Haz Sleeman, and the pair will have children.
How exciting.
It is exciting, right?
This is really exciting.
Even more exciting for me is that Angelina Jolie's in there.
Oh, is she?
Yes.
Oh, we
She's
didn't
one of the
see that in the
Eternals. Yes,
news.
absolutely. There's your gay superhero
Wait,
right
that's
there.
true.
You know.
What is
And
this
she's
about
got a
us that
transgender
we're
kid, a
reporting
gender
on
non-conforming
the first
kid.
Marvel
Wow.
gay superhero, but somebody mentions Angelina Jolie, and we all go,
Yeah,
wow!
see, now we're all going
And
to
a
go run
crowd
to the
loses
theater to
it.
go see this.
True.
Yes.
That should have let off with Angelina. So.
It's true. But like we were just talking about, representation matters. And I love the fact that Marvel and DC Comics and everyone else are starting to introduce these openly LGBTQ plus heroes because we need this for our next generation.
Well, Batgirl in the comic books actually has a best friend who is transgender, who actually came out as transgender in the comic book, in a Batgirl comic. Yeah, the Barbara Gordon version of Batgirl.
Barbara Gordon.
Because there's a Batwoman who's also a lesbian. There's
Sure.
two different characters.
I thought Supergirl was supposed to be a lesbian, but then it
wish.
kind of like
Oh
the
my
story
gosh, I
dropped
wish
off.
she was a lesbian. No, she's not.
No.
So, but there is a
Darn.
transgender character on the Supergirl TV show who is actually Nicole Maines, who is a twin and is transgender identified and plays
God,
a
you're a
transgender
comic
superhero.
geek.
So-
You
I didn't
are.
realize this.
Wow.
Well done.
Yes.
All the gay boys at the table are going, whoa, really impressed. You know what's interesting about this? First off, when we say representation matters, it does. So can we say Disney? Disney has really been out there in the last 6-7 months in supporting the LGBTQ community. We reported a few weeks back at Queer News Tonight that both Marvel, which is owned by Disney, and DC Comics on Tuesday are revealing a whole series of comics. All of their brands are going to go gay, and they're going to do new covers where they turn all of their characters into LGBT characters, and much of it written by LGBT writers and illustrators as a complete commitment to Pride Month. And it will drop in comic book stores on Tuesday.
I'll be in
That's
line.
exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's queer up entertainment. L Word Generation Q Season 2 finally has a release date. Here's all we know. We're all going to be talking, laughing, loving, breathing a lot sooner than we thought. According to Autostraddle, the internet's #1 independent lesbian website, the L Word Generation Q is wrapping up filming May 25th and will premiere its second season on August 8th. One of the biggest changes coming is that Rosie O'Donnell will be joining the cast as Carrie, Tina's fiance. Jordan Hull, who plays Bet and Tina's daughter Angie, has been bumped up to a season regular role. We also know that Vanessa Williams, the one from Candyman, not the one from Miss America pageant and the Ugly Betty show, will be joining the cast in a recurring role as Pippa Pascal.
Is anyone really named Pippa?
Pippa
Is that like
Middleton.
a thing? I guess if you're
Yeah.
like a royal or British. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
I'm not a big L Word fan. I'm not sure if
Downtown L
anybody
Word.
else is.
Really? You're
Yes.
not a lesbian?
Right.
No, I know
I'm
it looks
such
like
a bad
I,
lesbian that I don't watch that show actually. I did used to watch it in its first incarnation back in the turn of the century. I can't
Didn't
believe
we
I
all?
used that right. So, no, and that was actually they introduced a trans character on the L Word in the original series on Showtime.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and it was revolutionary. It was a trans man and went with queer. I like that they put Generation Q because it's kind of
Yeah.
like Queer Nation at this point.
Admittedly, I haven't seen Generation Q. I used to watch the old L Word, but I agree with you. It was revolutionary, and I think in this season, this version, they're looking at socioeconomic levels, and so it's more about income. and of course diversity as well. And if you've been to LA or lived there, you'll know, it's more representative now, I think, of introducing different characters.
Yeah.
But that whole economic point is important.
It is, because economics is access,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think they
And-
play into some politics in there
Yeah,
as
the-
well. So.
Yeah.
I mean,
Housing issues.
I love
and-
Jennifer Beals. She is like,
I was just going to say.
you know, when I was a little boy, I wanted to be Jennifer Beals.
Flashdance?
In
Me too.
Flashdance.
I used
I
to
would
dance
cut up
around
my
in my
leg
garage.
warmers and I would wear it over my shoulder. And yes,
So she's
dance like a
still on.
maniac in my living room. So.
First off, can I just say that I love the fact that you so naturally and organically said, when I was a little boy, and no issue at all. I love that. Gosh, I just absolutely love it. I just love it. You're so comfortable in doing that. I follow you right in with that. Lynare, I wanted to ask you, so you watched the original L Word. Was it a series you liked?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was, I was, well, I wouldn't say living and breathing for it, but looking forward to it every week.
Yeah, you know, I did lots of events once upon a time connected with RuPaul and other major events around the country, and anything that I ever participated that involved women and girls was the L Word. It was just it was a dynamo, and so many women would say, "Wait, this is the first opportunity that we have of our branding." Of the L in the LGBTQ community.
You know, it's funny, if I can tell a quick story. When I was an international flight attendant and went to Manchester, I was approached in a lesbian bar and asked, "Does everyone look like the L Word in America?" And so everyone was watching this show around the world
said,
and
"No, just me.
thinking that,
Just me.
yeah.
No, I think everybody, but whether you were a boy or girl, everybody wanted to do Shane. So yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's fair.
cute, very cute.
All right. Well, let's queer up with gay culture. So the woman who looked lost at a leather event doesn't mind being a meme. Standing in a sea of shirtless, leather harness clad men towering over her, Amruta Godboli said she felt like, and I quote, fish out of water, end quote. While at the San Francisco Street Fair a few years ago, a friend decided to snap a photo from above Miss Godbol in the funny situation, and a meme was instantly born. Since it first went viral in 2018, Godboli estimates the photo resurfaces somewhere on the internet about maybe once a month. Godboli said, quote, "One of my main groups of friends in San Francisco is a group of gay men, so I have often found myself in situations where I'm the one woman amid all of these gay men. I'm also 5'1", and they're all very tall and muscular, so I was just so clearly standing out," end quote. That's kind of how I felt at Winterfest not too long ago, actually. So here I was, a trans woman in a sea of shirtless leather
That was
men.
this year or last year?
So, no, that was 2 years ago now, because,
Yeah.
I forget, 2020 doesn't
just doesn't
exist
exist.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's
exactly.
True. That was me at Aqua Girl, so it goes both ways.
That, I guess so.
I was the guy
Well,
and
that
you
day
all
I
the
could have
women.
gone both ways, because
They were pretty cute.
No one knows Tony's really 5'1", so when he goes to Aqua Girl, he's just like
Just
that
like
picture.
that.
I'm sitting on a book on a book of encyclopedias right now. That makes any kind of sense.
The picture is so cute because it's a reflection of this tiny little girl and these big, muscular, mostly leather guys in San Francisco. It is absolutely, it makes me smile looking at it. Now, of course, I have the benefit, because I've seen it a number of times, I have the benefit of knowing that she's really enjoying this moment, because if you've seen it for the first time, it's like, wait, where am I and what in the hell am I doing here? That's not what's going through her mind at all.
I was enjoying the moment the minute that Jessica was describing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I want to be there too.
Yeah, where's that again? Can I have a dress? Or...
And you have to get dressed.
And,
Sure.
and again, if you don't believe me, text me. Tony's 5'1".
You know, most people know me in this community, right?
Oh, okay. All right. So now we're going to queer up religion. Evangelical groups are enraged. What is it now? Kellogg's Pride cereal for pushing the LGBTQ agenda. Kellogg's has released a brand new cereal for Pride Month, Together with Pride, it's called, which has rainbow-colored cereal hearts in the colors of the rainbow flag. Covered, of course, covered in edible glitter.
had
Of
to be
course.
glitter.
Kellogg's announced the cereal last month, and right on cue, several religious right and anti-LGBT groups are trying to boycott the conglomerate for daring to support LGBTQ people. This is not the first time Kellogg's has released something for the LGBTQ community that earned conservative backlash. Just having LGBTQ people in their commercials has sent anti-LGBTQ people into a frenzy. For every box purchased, and this is the big news, Kellogg's is donating $3 of the $3.99 of the suggested retail price to GLAAD if customers upload their receipt to the website.
Yay, Kellogg, for doing that.
absolutely.
So,
You know, I think they should do the same thing as Marvel though and go all in. Like make all of their cereals gay. You know, like they should have like Tony
well,
the
they've
Tiger in
had
a
Fruit
harness.
Loops, and that talks for itself
Well,
right there. So.
Tony the Tiger.
You could have the Keebler elves doing an orgy. It'll be great.
Last year, and we reported this at Q last year, all of their flagship mascots went gay on one box of cereal. Last year, that's what they
Busy
did.
box.
Well, it's the same with this box. I was the one that told this story about a month ago on Queer News Tonight.
Oh, okay. I
And I
didn't
shared it on social media.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most popular stories I've ever shared because people were generally really excited about this. And on that cover, it's Tony the Tiger and the elves and everybody else looking as queer as possible.
Yeah.
Love
and
that.
don't forget, by the way, these anti-LGBT groups, one of the big ones that are for sure going to slam Kellogg's is called 1 Million Moms. And I have reported at least 25 times in the last year that 1 Million Moms, the anti-LGBT group, is really 9 old white men in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
In drag.
In drag. Right.
So it's interesting that in ancient Egypt, I think it was in the 5th dynasty, there is a tomb of 2 mummies together that were 2 men, and the painting suggests that they were lovers. There's actually, they're rubbing noses together, which in ancient Egypt was the way that people kissed.
Oh.
So
I heard about that story actually. Yeah, but
You could-
until like recently, they just told everyone they were really close brothers.
Yeah. But
And
so-
let me get one more opportunity before Tony moves to travel. 1 Million Moms is 7 old white guys in
26. There we go. 26
Drag.
times.
Yes. On that note, we're going to queer up travel. Queers are leading the way in the travel revival. Queer travelers around the world are ready to bust out of the lockdown and hit the road. Feeling safe enough for travel, the majority of LGBTQ plus respondents to a recent global travel survey revealed plans to take a major vacation in 2021. The International LGBTQ plus Travel Association conducted its 2021 LGBTQ plus post-COVID travel survey from March 26th to April 9th through the association's global network. According to the IGLTA results, the majority of respondents, or 73%, said they plan to take their next major vacation before the end of 2021. I'll be one of the first ones.
Yeah,
I'm
honestly.
looking right
Get
now to
on
where
the
I can
plane.
go, where I can take my vaccine passport and get away from here as fast as I can.
But see, that's kind of scary for a trans person. It depends on what the laws are like in your country or in your nation on what can go on that passport. And if you've got the wrong gender marker on there, good luck.
It's
And part of that study, it was I saw 5% of gender nonconforming people who, were wanting to do that. 5% out of 100. I mean, that's a small population.
That says a
of
lot.
gender.
It really
so
does.
that's because most trans people are afraid to travel. Forget COVID. Just that whole
It's
issue.
a general reality.
You know,
Lynare,
and
you're
get into a
big in-
country where they're not accepted and they be bullied or even killed or put in jail.
Right.
It's crazy.
Lynare, you're big in the travel field. What do you think about the results and what LGBT is going to do next in travel?
I think it's going to be just across the board. It's like what Jessica's saying. It's just not really uniform everywhere. So it's going to be different in different places. And like she's saying, the safety issues, not just in terms of COVID. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this plays out. The GMCBB does studies as well, but their studies are looking at what would our community plan for travelers, incoming travelers. And some of those studies are fascinating because everyone we think is traveling pre-pandemic, it's actually younger people, it's more people of color, it's trans travelers. And so people that do events should really be catering to these populations more because they are the travelers. And of course, everyone else as well, but just, those numbers are very high. And so just more inclusivity with planning events. And also, the millennials like experiences. And so if you plan things where it's not just the party, but then you take it a step further, you plan a tour to go along with it, out to the Everglades. And
Wow, I'm excited. I just learned I'm a millennial.
I was just going to say, not you.
No, no, no.
Nick and I, maybe.
You
No,
know,
not just millennials, but
No,
Gen
that's
Z
not fair. The
also.
Cretaceous is a millennial.
you know.
Wow.
Who are you?
On that note,
Wait, I just want to say I'm very excited to say I'm going to be broadcasting the Stonewall Pride Parade on June 19th, right on Walton Drive on the main stage, and almost immediately after that, I'm flying to Panama City.
No way.
I'm going to do the Panama Canal, and then fly to Costa Rica and do the jungles through Costa Rica.
Oh, that's so
Can't wait
exciting.
to
How
get back
exciting.
out.
Amazing.
Isn't that going to feel so good just to be back out in
Just
the world
to get
again?
out in
Yeah.
the world again.
I agree.
We need that.
Yeah, very exciting.
Thank you, vaccines.
Yes, exactly.
so let's queer up gay culture, how COVID-19 transformed sex work, especially for marginalized people. More people are getting involved in more types of sex work, especially with the help of the internet, despite criminalization of their occupations and activist opposition, some of which threatens people's lives. The internet has helped improve sex workers' lives, including by keeping them safer. For those with internet access, escorts can screen clients online, make clients verify identity, and provide references. Escorts develop and rely on online client review systems and community web forums, making them less dependent on exploitative third parties. I think with this, having internet access is key, because if you don't, then these safety blankets just aren't there. So I think if you're doing advocacy work, surrounding this population and this vocation, then what you need to do is also ensure that people have internet access. Maybe be an
absolutely.
advocate for technology.
But at the same, I mean, I totally agree with you, Lynare, but doing all of this only goes so far until we can change the policies that actually make this illegal for people,
Yeah.
right? Like this is what their chosen field
Absolutely.
of work is.
Yeah, and we have so many problems in the world. Someone's vocation in this field is not something that is really that big of a deal.
No.
I love the idea that COVID-19 made it more acceptable. Whether you like it or not like it or whatever, it's not very important in terms of our overall political issues that we should be enforcing in the world. And evangelicals should not be making these decisions for all American citizens. They just
Any
shouldn't
decisions
be.
ever.
Or any decisions, right.
All right, now let's queer up the world. Police in Bangkok arrest 62 men in gay sauna group Chemsex party. Police in Thailand have raided a gay sauna in Bangkok last Saturday and arrested 62 men on the suspicion of conducting an illegal sex and drugs party. According to a report in the Bangkok Post, 30 officers in the Wang Thongland district of the city took part in the raid after neighbors tipped off authorities to the possibility of illegal gay get-togethers at the Pharos 2 sauna. Thailand has experienced an upsurge in COVID-19 cases in the recent weeks, and bars, gyms, massage parlors, and other establishments were closed until the end of May, although restaurants have been allowed to remain open at a reduced 25% capacity. So, could we call this the Bangkok cock block? Is that
You
it
were
funny
waiting
yet?
the entire show to do that,
Oh,
weren't you? That's funny.
I was stopped at Chemsex. I'm like, I don't even know what that really means. Maybe I'm not a millennial after all.
Oh, no. So this is part of what I do research on at the university, and this idea of chemsex is the party and play, right? Like, whenever you mix drugs, especially polysubstance use with sex, like oftentimes your ability to make healthy sex decisions for yourself and your partners is reduced, right? Condom use, PrEP, adherence, all those things. And so, this does increase, the chance that somebody would contract a sexually transmitted infection, maybe even HIV, but certainly COVID with 62 people in a room like that.
Absolutely.
And, one of the things that I want to speak up for Thailand is this is not an anti-LGBT story. Your first reaction may be that it is, but it is not. Bangkok's move here was in protection of their COVID-19 laws. Bangkok and Thailand in general is for Asia is the #1 destination for LGBTQ community and
They're
acceptance.
they're number one for surgeries
Are
for the
they?
transgender
Oh, I didn't know
community.
that.
Yes.
Oh, that's very
So,
interesting.
and ladyboys are, part of their accepted culture. So-
Exactly right. And Thailand has a very pro-LGBT stance. So this story is about the issues that are going on in COVID and the violation of their COVID laws and procedures currently going on in terms of trying to.
I think maybe, Lynare, you're about to say this, but I do think we need to thread the needle between a pro-LGBT stance and sort of the military junta that's in Thailand right now, and the political situation not being structurally pro-LGBT, but rather permissively so.
Yeah. That's
Well, and whenever you have things like pandemics, you always have this faction of people that can come in and try to change things and make things that
Control
are
the narrative.
open, to make it more restrictive. You see that, but also this could also be a drug issue as well. You mentioned COVID, but I think with those level of drugs, you're talking about methamphetamine. That's a life sentence in Thailand.
yeah.
So
Oh, is it? I didn't know
yes.
that. Okay.
Up to life.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has been LGBTQ America's most important news source on the pandemic, as we have reported coronavirus on every broadcast since January 6, 2020.
And tonight, we report the devastating effect coronavirus has had on the American and worldwide LGBTQ communities in total cases and deaths.
We also provide hope of a new light at the end of this long tunnel. As of tonight, more than 2,374,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
We've watched the greatest single year LGBTQ health crisis of our lifetimes. More than 42,000 LGBTQ Americans have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 286 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
Hooray.
And that is our COVID-19 news for tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television Network is passionate about our support for the LGBTQ community.
An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at the Sunshine Cathedral and supporting that partnership.
The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live.
We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
Dr. Ty Hauser, professor at Broward College and host of Gay Town Hall. Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
And finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western's I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ allied partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida as well.
Before we start on the queue, I want to give production note that we're hearing a feedback that may affect us. And go ahead, Jessica.
All right, well, welcome to Q's for Q&A on LGBTQ health and pandemic. For nearly a year, this segment has been unique in America, answering your LGBTQ plus community questions about our unique health needs. We're proud to have Queer News Tonight health anchor Dr. Howard Grossman.
He is an American pioneer in HIV/AIDS medical treatment and was the executive director of the American Academy of HIV Medicine. He is a nationally recognized medical expert and proud member of our LGBTQ community. Good evening, Dr. Grossman.
Well, hi, Tony. How you doing? So many anchors. You all look wonderful.
Thank you.
And you too. We love the bow tie again. Howard, before we move into any of the questions tonight, of course, you watch the medical news through the week. What are your thoughts about what you have watched and seen this week?
Well, I think one of the big stories this week was this story about children with myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart. And, I think the important thing here that I take away from this story of a very small number of kids who, after getting the vaccine, develop myocarditis. Number one, we've heard today that the majority are completely healthy at 6 weeks. And really almost all of them have recovered by 6 months. There is what I take away is that the CDC is being very careful about monitoring the vaccine situation. So it looks like the rate of myocarditis is not that different from what we see in the general population. But the fact that they saw this and were immediately on it and immediately put out a warning to doctors to watch for it and to see if maybe it's happening at a greater rate, I think just shows us how closely they're watching the situation. The same as what happened with the 6 women who developed blood clotting problems. They are right on top of that. So I think that should be reassuring to a lot of people. I did hear, we talked a lot about how people worry that the vaccine was developed too early and worry that we don't know the long-term side effects. We hear that all the time. Today I heard another one, and that is, I'm going to wait until the FDA approves it. And I said, what difference is that going to make? But, that's another meme that's floating around out there, the reason for people not to get the vaccine. So.
Howard, I'm curious, before we move into our questions tonight, as a medical professional and the experience that you've had with HIV and AIDS, do you think we're just going to get to the point of the anti-vaxxers and the people that say no, that we're just going to move on and go, okay, that's your choice, and that's that?
Well, I think anti-vaxxers are a small group, actually. I think the majority of the people who are not getting the vaccine are being fed these fears, and they seem reasonable. They seem to make sense, and they feed on people's fears of the new and the unknown. And plus it's all mixed up with politics. So I think more and more people are little by little going to be convinced. One of my patients today said his niece in Staten Island wasn't getting the vaccine, wanted to come visit him. He said, "You're not coming until you can get the vaccine." And so I think those kind of family influences are going to have an impact. Putting it in local doctor's offices is going to have an impact. The person you trust. The anti-vaxxers tend to be the real strong anti-vaxxers tend to be a pretty small group. Yeah. I do think at a certain point we are going to be starting to filter people out by whether they're vaccinated or not, whether they put a passport in place or not. I think that more and more places, you're not going to be able to go to the theater unless you can prove you're vaccinated. You're not going to be able to, you can't go see Stephen Colbert's show unless you're vaccinated. You can't go to Saturday Night Live unless you're vaccinated. So I think that's going to become more and more a situation. And certainly I think the Europeans are going to be restricting travel. So overseas travel is going to be impossible if you're not vaccinated.
Yeah, and Howard, let's put, before we move into the questions, let's move it back to LGBT, to what you've just said. Of those that have not been vaccinated, you have your finger on the pulse of LGBT healthcare more than anybody that I know, especially here in South Florida. Are you seeing much anti-vax or rejection of vaccine in the LGBTQ community? What's your feeling of what you're seeing?
Depends which community you're looking at. I mean, for example, I live in Wilton Station, which is, generally fairly well off, gay people, mostly older. And I would say 99% of the people out of our 272 apartments have been vaccinated. We have one or two strong anti-vaxxers, but even they apologize for themselves. And, so I think in like Wilton Manors, I think you see a high level. I think when you get outside of here and you get to people who are disadvantaged socioeconomically, who maybe are less educated, that's where I'm seeing some of the resistance in the LGBTQ communities. Certainly among my African American patients of lower socioeconomic status and lower education, that there's a real problem, a real fear of getting the vaccine.
And Howard, I'm just required to follow up that observation. Is there anything that we can do to help improve that situation in poor LGBTQ communities, minority communities, and LGBT? Is there anything that we can do?
We have to get the education out there. We have to have voices from those communities who can talk to people. I mean, you were talking about sex workers. I had a sex worker, a new patient who's a sex worker come in today who's transgender, and she's gone virtual this year. I mean, she doesn't see clients except online to survive, but because she was afraid of COVID, but she's afraid of the vaccine. She was the one that said, waiting for the FDA approval. So I try to talk to people with the questions they have, try to reassure them, try to make them understand that I don't hate them because they don't get the vaccine. I don't think they're stupid. I don't think, but try to counter some of those myths that are out there.
Right, and I will say the University of Miami is part of a NIH consortium called the Community Engaged Alliance Against COVID-19 Disparities. And we're operating in 22 states now. And one of the university's main populations is LGBT people in South Florida. And so we really are trying to get the education out, like Dr. Grossman said, and get people educated on what the vaccine can do.
Yeah, well, we need to continue to talk about it over and over again because the science results are miraculous. They're just miraculous in terms of the effect that the vaccines have had.
But we can't underplay the role that people from within those communities play in trying to find those spokesmen that look like and sound like the people they're talking to.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's jump into some of the questions that we have tonight for you, Dr. Grossman.
So, Dr. Grossman, Japan has banned international spectators for the Olympics due to COVID. Do you think the Olympics are safe for athletes?
Well, I think the athletes at the Olympics tend to live in a bubble. They don't really associate with the people who are in the best of years. They don't really associate with the spectators so much, and they really are in that bubble because they're focused on their activities, on their sports. I think they're probably restricting that down even further as far as contact. I know they're talking about doing a lot of testing, vaccinating. I think they have to be vaccinated in order to come to the Olympics. So, I think it'll probably be pretty safe for them. I think the spectators in the stands, it's a different story. But again, the Japanese are very intense about healthcare restrictions. They're not letting any foreigners into the country to be spectators.
Yeah. Okay. So another one of our viewers asks, what are monoclonal antibodies and are they effective for the treatment of COVID-19?
So monoclonal antibodies, basically when you say monoclonal, you're talking about making an antibody that's exactly the same. So they're clones. It's a single clone, monoclonal. And the monoclonal antibodies in combination have been very effective for treating people who are mildly symptomatic and keeping them from progressing. So if you talk about things like, they are basically combination monoclonal antibody infusions that are given to people to help keep them out of the hospital. So if somebody finds out they're infected, only has mild symptoms, they may want to go to one of the hospitals and get one of these infusions.
Okay.
They haven't really worked well once somebody's really sick.
All right. We have another viewer who mentions.
Before I go on, just let me say we have monoclonal antibodies that we're using for HIV. Trogarzo is the brand name of one monoclonal antibody. We have all those commercials you see for the arthritis drugs and the psoriasis drugs. Those are all monoclonal antibodies. Anything that ends in MAB in their generic name is a monoclonal antibody.
Okay. Well, this
Sorry.
viewer's asking, they mentioned that they saw an outbreak of COVID-19 on a cruise ship, or rather that they read about an outbreak of COVID-19 on a cruise ship, and that didn't have any passengers. Will these cruise ships
Right.
be safe after being vaccinated?
Well, that was a Royal Caribbean cruise ship that was coming from Europe over this way, and the people who got infected were not vaccinated. So they were testing people before getting on the ship, but obviously some people slipped through the testing, which is why testing used to be the best tool we have, but now the best tool we have is vaccination. So they took those people right off the ship and nobody else was infected, because I think the ship had something like 1,400 crew members. The cruises that are going to be going out of the U.S. are going to require that all crew members and all passengers be vaccinated. So I think they're going to be running at only partial capacity. So I would assume that they'll be relatively safe. You know, a cruise ship is a tight space, and so depends on how big the ship is and how many people are around. It is a large group of people, but like I said, if everybody's vaccinated, hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, and the bottom line is, again, follow the science. The CDC is tracking breakthrough infection, and breakthrough infection is those that are fully vaccinated that actually contract COVID-19, and the number is so small, it is just
Right.
incredible, the results.
It's 0.007%. So
0.007%. That is how
7 out of
successful the
100,000. Right.
It is a miracle. A miracle.
It's getting better.
And
Well, Dr. House, Dr. Grossman, thank you. That is tonight's Q&A on LGBTQ health and pandemic. We are here every Tuesday with Dr. Howard Grossman to answer your questions. If you need medical assistance, and we're LGBT, of course we do, we encourage you to contact Midway Specialty Care Center. They have 10 locations here in Florida, and especially Dr. Howard Grossman here in Walton Manors, serving all across South Florida. Thank you, Howard, for being with us again tonight. And I love the bow tie. The bow tie is
It's
very
amazing.
thank you all. Thank you.
Well, that is today's news for the LGBTQ community and the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing, ring the bell for updates, share the news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines, and we do need your support.
Well, if our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and here at Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Tony Lima, Lynare Robbins, Dr. Nick Metheny, and of course, Jessica Lam. We will
Metheny,
see
right?
you. Did I mispronounce it?
Yes, you did.
Again.
I got you, honey. I got you.
All right. We will see you daily, but perhaps not me, daily and tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Good night.